Dr. Bart Borg is Vice President of Feed and Nutrition at Passel Farms, and Dr. David Rosero is Assistant Professor at Iowa State University. They will now focus on the economics of these learnings via their presentation, modeling the economic value of soybean meal in swine diets, development of a digital calculator for dynamic market conditions.
Thank you, David, and thanks to all of you for being here today. Dean, I'm going to take issue at that picture, if I can, for a minute. Obviously, that was AI generated because my trailer is actually green in color, and I was working with pigs. So, anyway, I'm really excited to be here today to just provide a few comments about a tool that I'll just, at the out front, encourage you to take the time to get into as you are allowed access. And I believe I'm right in saying that will be today. And you'll see maybe as I go through just, again, a few introductory slides here on why my excitement is there. I've been, for a number of years, really interested in following formulation and feed milling, processing aspects, and I really love to get to the last number. If it happens to be with particle size, I really want to be able to describe to somebody what 25 microns of particle size difference means to the pig or means in cost. And so when I get into a diet formulation exercise, I just really want to understand, if I'm comparing two things, not just what are the ending formula costs, but what does that mean on the return as we go to sell that pig or market it in some way, move it out of the nursery, whatever it may be. And so over the years, there's obviously been, go back to the napkin math and moving into spreadsheet calculations that we may be involved with today, and certainly that's where I have been. But there's some really exciting, and I think you'll see as David is able to preview this for you, just a tremendous modeling tool that we'll introduce to you here today. So I'm going to, just for a minute, go back and two or three models that I thought of as we were putting together this presentation. And I saw Roger Campbell earlier today, and I should have asked him to have this right, but the black model came to mind, or the OSPIG model. And my memory of that back in late 80s, early 90s, it would have been somewhere in that time frame, was that, boy, that's a really intense, sophisticated model. And I think my recollection of that is that, and there you are, Roger, sorry, I'm looking back here, but my recollection of that is that it was so detailed that potential users just became disillusioned with it. And so, again, but a terrific body of work, and Eric Weaver, I see him sitting here, Dave Holtzgrafe, we were all together at Farmland. In 1988, a guy by the name of Denny Hughes had put together, using his response surface methodology, of formulation combined with program development, nutrient requirement assignment that was just way ahead of its time. That's today in the bowels of some basement and not being used any longer, as one company purchases another and so on. But NRC and the performance models. The thing that I would say is that all are good, but all of these, I think, fall short in the aspect of looking at that final revenue piece. And that's so important. So again, not any model is perfect, but any of them we should have the the expectation that there is a revenue component and the ability to predict profitability. Should use directionally accurate comparisons, and when I say directionally accurate, again, I'm a person that really likes to get to the final number, as I described before. I really want it to be right, but in a comparison of two different feeding programs, it's okay that you don't have every detail right down to the final number. If you're directionally accurate and you have a majority of the costs rolled up, you're going to have a really good idea whether that's the right thing to do or not. So again, I just caution a little bit of directionally accurate is okay. Again, we should be able to place a value on feed use, certainly, and weight gain. We can consider as we progress from just feed cost per ton up through a performance and dynamic model, the complexity is going to change. We need to be able to consider feed efficiency, animal production, population response, and then certainly all of the dynamics of the market, corn, soy, price changing, the lean hog market changing as we go. So if we talk about the costs side of producing a pig, obviously 70% of the cost of production in that neighborhood is related to feed. But if we, again, consider comparing two different feed programs, the important thing is to have that feed cost piece nailed down, because the majority of these others, at a given point in time, the wean pig that you're either producing off of a sow farm or you're purchasing, they're going to cost the same in either program. The variable and fixed cost that you may have different are maybe an extra 3 or 4 days in the building at 13 or 14 cents a day. And all other costs other than feed cost will be similar in that comparison. So we want to make sure that we have capabilities of knowing what those ingredient prices are, inputting those into the model. In this example or chart, we see that we've got a 2x change in corn price from 2020 to 2022, so that's always moving. Significant price difference in soybean meal as compared to a couple of years ago, so we need to be able to account for these. Hog prices, again, the revenue piece, also dynamic, always changing, and so no model can be put together and just put to rest. It needs to be address the dynamic changes that we have. And then the Iowa State model that many times is referenced, Lee Schultz, and the work that he's done just as a guide for and a historical review in many cases for where we've been in profitability and then a gross prediction of what's to come. One other thing that, as I indicated a minute ago, I like to really get to that final number, but one thing that I've found as a help to me, and I do this often as I do a calculation and say, okay, there's the number. I like to look at it, and this sensitivity table is an example of that, to say back in the summer of 24, if we look at the center of that chart, $375 soybean meal, 80-cent hogs at that time as far as a price. This would indicate the revenue of using that higher soybean price with some added carcass and taking that summer dip out. So at that point, I would have said, well, that 44 cents loss by doing that. Again, using this as an example, sensitivity tables to me allow you to analyze your risk. Well, what if soybean meal price drops by $10 or $20, $30? What if lean hog prices are higher or lower than what I'm calculating, looking out into the future, putting pigs on feed today that are going to be sold in July or August? So again, this helps me in being able to analyze my risk and maybe not having that number exactly there, but thinking about, well, what are my risks one way or the other? And you'll see this as part of what David will present here in a minute as a output of the model. So I'll turn it over to David. He and the team at Iowa State, I think you'll see, have just done a tremendous job of turning this complexity of numbers into a terrific tool. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Thank you, Bart. So Dr. Bart Borg has been a visionary for the tool. I want to compliment his time because from the beginning, when we start thinking about the request we had, it is not a simple question, right? It's complex when you want to tie diet formulation with modeling of performance, and then you want to find an economic assessment. And at the bottom of here of the slide, you see that it's a dynamic. We wanted easy access, so an online web-based access, and also user-friendly. So how do you combine those 5 aspects into a tool? I want to compliment the efforts of Dr. Bart Borg in guiding us to get there. So just to set the stage as we present the tool to you, I also want to compliment the support of Soybean Board, because this will be a tool in your hands. It's open to everybody, and it's not guided only for soybean meal diets. You can use it for any diet program you want to compare. And the beauty will be to connect diet formulation with the biology of the pig and the pricing in the market. So the 2 main components that we set it up at the beginning with Dr. Bart Borg was the feed program. So you have to be able to compare 2 different, not just diets, but diet programs. So each diet program, you'll see it has 4 diet phases, replicating what we do in the field. We also wanted to make it a user-specific diet formulation. So as we thought about that too, you needed to have the ability to change formulation, and we formulate in least cost formulation. So we thought on including 2 least cost formulation within the tool. So then when you have to change prices or when you have to change nutrient specs or add ingredients, you can do it right there in the tool. And then, as Dr. Bart Borg indicated, we wanted to capture the impact of feed intake in the feed cost at the end of the day, right? And then, as you compare 2 different diets, they might have different responses in the biology of the pig. This afternoon, you have been hearing responses to soybean meal in terms of growth rate, in terms of feed efficiency. So if those changes, how is that going to change the decision? Which, at the end of the day, as a production nutritionist in my past, that's where I need to get, is to the bottom line, right? Is if I am going to change my current diet program with a superior, I need to speak with senior management and tell this is going to create for $3 per pig to the company. That's the bottom line. So with that, we thought about Feed for Profit as a name. You have to thank Susie for the name. She came with great names. But here for the tool, the 3 components we have is, first, you're going to be landing into economic modeling page. That's the bottom line. So if you have selected diets that you want to compare, if those are up-to-date formulated, and you have prices on time, and then you have done your work on comparing the performance difference between the 2, this will be your landing page. This is going to compare the 2 diet programs over time, and that's key based on the information we just received this afternoon. It is not one time, in one point in time, right? The market moves, so then feed costs and pig prices change over time, and it can change tomorrow. What do? It can change a month from now, and we also have to be cautious that when we feed our pigs, that's going to be pigs that we sell 5 months from now, right? So all of that has to be taken by the model. So we decided to do an overtime of 12 months, include commodity prices. So the more significant here will be hogs, of course, but also corn and soybean meal as the majority of my feed cost component, including to that economic analysis, overtime difference between the programs, but also what Dr. Bart indicated, a sensitivity analysis. So then if prices changes for my commodities, where do I locate? How do I analyze my risk factor? Now, the feed formulation, as I indicated, we included 2 least cost formulation within the program, so you'll have the ability to take away ingredients, add nutrients, edit specifications, so this can become your diets. That's the purpose. For the exercise and the demonstration, we have set 2 libraries based on PIC, nutrient specifications, and then just comparing what we hear in the previous talks about the summer carcass weight deep exercise that we did a couple years ago. And then finally, the performance modeling component, we had to build growth curves, so we use PIC, most recent growth curves. We also integrated NRC 2012 relationship of the body weight and energy intake, right? You formulate diets with different MEs. How is that going to change over time? And then the performance modeling, it can change by nutrient and ingredient. So you have the ability now to add an ingredient into the performance modeling and say, is corn DDGs? And if I know corn DDGs will impact feed intake and that decreases body weight gain, I can model that into my library. So here's what the video will look like. I will, although you see the QR code here and it's gonna get you in your phones, I will strongly advise you against using it into your phones. The complexity of this is gonna be a better exercise if you do it in your computer, right? So it's no different than your least cost formulation program. You won't be able to do it in your phone for a better experience. And then, so to demo the tool, as we go deeper, I just wanted to use the carcass summer weight deep exercise we did as an example because we created 2 libraries to do this. And just to summarize what we discussed in the last conversation with Dr. Aaron Gaines, I think during summer, selling our pigs represents a really good opportunity for us as producers, right? This is 4 years comparison on the lean hog price during the year and putting every year in a relative basis to 100%. Just to highlight that during summertime is where we have the best opportunity to sell our pigs, right? We want to grow our pigs and we will maximize our revenue during this time. This also coincides with the time of having low carcass weights being sold to the plants. So the combination of the 2, it does create a really good opportunity for producers to capture revenue and profitability. And so in the tool, when you go, one of the components will be the pricing over time. So we went a few years back with data from USDA for commodities, just so then you can do exercises over time. Also to have enough data and use prediction analytics to project the next few months of prices for hogs and commodities. We also will disclaim that these are historical prices, and then also for the future we'll be using regression analysis. And then I showed this a couple years ago in one of the sessions, and it's comparing the 2 diets that I used in Hanoi a few years ago when I was designing with Dean and Amanda a diet for the summer months. So I had a diet that had high DDGs, and then we included fat to increase the energy density of the diet. We compared this with a diet, we call it a summer soybean meal program. And I'm not gonna go deeper because we heard a couple times here this afternoon. But the key aspects of my program were not having added fat. We conducted a low energy diet because of price, especially. We also set a minimum level of soybean meal, and those will be the values Dr. Dean Boyd presented earlier. And we decided in our diets not to include DDGs because of the effect of feed intake that I will show in a moment. The prices, those are referenced and published by Pope 2024. And the response to DDGs was something concerning to us. Into our diets, and this is a collection of 2 different grow finish studies, internal studies that we didn't publish, but we learned the relationship, especially of feed intake in relation to the level of corn DDGs. So we knew that by feeding corn DDGs into our diets, we were going to decrease carcass gain at the end of the day, and that wasn't desirable, especially for pigs that you will be selling during summer months. You're missing that opportunity again. So during that time, and because of the lack of access of different tools, this was my archaic way to analyze. And so I had to do formulation in my package of diet formulation, bring diets into my Excel spreadsheet, input my prices, and again, this is only one point in time, right? And then get the evaluation for profitability at the end of the day. So that was the way we decided what strategy to use, but something that I called my attention at the time, and now without having the tools, is I can now see the effect over time. This one point in time. What happens next month or 5 months from now? So as you'll see, this will be the beauty of the program is that it will take you to one of the pages will be the feed formulator. And let's see if this works. It's small for you, but and this is the screen. But what you see here is 2 diet libraries comparison. And each diet library will have a section for ingredients to take it out, to add it. It also has a section for nutrients that you can set specifications at, take it out, and then nutrient ratios, right? We thought about the basic information to do a very simple formulation exercise. Again, this is not to be meant to replace a feed formulation program, but rather to be included as a component of the economic modeling program here. So the next section, after I have decided on the 2 libraries that I want to compare, which in this case will be my high DDGs and high fat diet against a high soybean meal, I can go into my performance modeling, and then I can include DDGs, because I know DDGs will influence feed intake into my pigs, and I will put a value for average daily gain and feed conversion if that's what I have noticed into my field, right? And then I can do that by phase. So we designed these 2 libraries of examples with 4 different phases. And as you know, maybe the response in the pig in the earlier phases might be different, so you have the ability to change that. And the goal here is not to give you specific numbers or values, but rather introduce the tool, because I know that every system will have a different response in the performance, and you have your own assumptions when it comes to performance modeling. But then the landing page will be this economic modeling, which we're seeing here is a comparison of the 2 programs that you're working through. So you see here a 12 months comparison. You will set a target. So what's the month and what is the year that I want to compare? The program is going to show you 3 months, 2 months before and 9 months after. And so you can see an overtime impact. It shows you the feed costs. It shows you the revenue, and we wanted to go closer to profitability, so we decided to go to income over feed, to calculate income over feed costs for the exercise. Down below is the request by Dr. Bart on the sensitivity analysis for the 2 libraries. So at the center, you will see the price for that specific month for each of the libraries, and it will give you a 10 and 20% difference on prices for soybean meal and for lean hog. So it does give you different scenarios for the pricing. It will give you the ability to compare it to 2 diet programs. And you might question, that was in 2023. When I did the exercise, I wanted to replicate what I did in Excel. What I'm showing here is what's the answer today. And again, I'm not going to give you a specific answer because I know the situation for every company is different, but rather just show you how you can get there. So I will do go to the top, select the month and year. The system will understand that these prices have been changed and you need to update the diet, so it's going to take you to the feed formulation package. It will allow you to formulate all the phases with one click. When you do that, if you want to do any other changes, now is the time. So I'm just formulating all phases at the same time. So it's doing in the background. I'm checking my performance modeling, right? If that's still the case today versus 4 or 5 years ago. And once I feel comfortable about the performance difference, right? In my case, and in the past when we measured, it was 4.2 carcass pounds. So that was what I modeled my performance response here. I wanted to capture the value of carcass with this diet program we designed. And in today's prices, there's the 12-month difference between the two diet libraries. So with that, Susie, David, and the team, especially Dr. Bart Borg, would like to release the tool to you today. As I said before, I will strongly encourage you to use it in your laptops or computers because that will be a better experience for you. These will include a built-in tour, and so there will be one in the corner of the right, one tour button that you can click, and it's going to take you to all these 3 components step by step, just for extra guidance. Susie is putting together training sessions. If you want to bring specific scenarios to compare specific pricing, that's all coming. And then we already are dreaming about a second version because to get to this point, we released a very, very first version to Dr. Bart Borg as a Christmas gift. And so his Christmas time was going into the computer, and I don't know how many hours you spent, Bart, but he gave us a long list of updates to do. So that was the word for a second round of pilot users, which I appreciate their feedback. They tested, get great comments on the formulation, on the performance, but also mainly on the usability of the tool. But there's much more that we can do, right? We get feedback. I understand it that you might want to make this your own tool. So what we want to do is to create the ability to set up your own account so then you can have your own diet libraries, your own nutrient libraries, and it's all only to your eyes, right? And you can save, you can share if you want it. You can come back anytime, and it's there for you, right? It hasn't changed for you. This was built in kilograms to make it international, I guess, if somebody outside wants to use it. But I realized, too, that in the US, we are more used to pounds. So that will be part of the update. As you go into a user, you can set your settings into pounds. With today's technology, we also want to take advantage of what AI offers to guide you into scenarios. We also want to bring not only the future prices of corn and soybean meal as main commodities, but with the use of AI and knowing what market is happening, it can suggest you more prices for other relevant ingredients to you, right? As an example, I also dream about, since we have all this information on prices on libraries and it knows you, it can pre-run some libraries for you. So you come and can make you suggestions. So that's all of a dream of a version 2. And then all other improvements for easy of use and the ability to add other costs like labor, like space, transportation, and as I said, extend the library of nutrients and ingredients. So this wasn't my work. I was part of the team. I just want to acknowledge the key people working too. Dr. Bart Borg was our visionary who set the goal and who keep us on track. Donovan Kieber is an electrical and computer engineering student, but he has more than 6 years of coding experience. And Nathan, he is my master's student in nutrition who, behind the scenes, was doing the validations for calculations on the models, for calculations of the least costs and connections to costs. And then Susie has been a great leader of the project. So just want to compliment her work. And with that, this is my team. That's what we want to do, is create some of these tools to put it in your hands, make it a decision-making tool, so then maybe bring the industry farther. With that, just want to thank you one more time for your time.